Hello everybody, this is Mr. Moreno, and I am showing you this video with the intention of sharing one strategy that I decided to use in order to foster collaboration among my students whenever it came to working with their ECR practices and responses. In order for this lesson to take place, I require the following materials besides the Google slide presentation that you are currently looking at. I decided to use Padlet, an article from New CLA, any whiteboard in your room. In this case, I am using a blank Google Slides presentation as a substitute. And finally, the Google Doc that has the activity that the students will be using to deliver a product for me to grade later. At the beginning of the lesson, I require my students to participate by sharing their thoughts about the following question in a Padlet. What are your thoughts about the media exposure that Taylor Swift has in the NFL? And since this was a low stakes activity, the only purpose of this was to engage them into the first component of the talk, read, talk, write strategy, which is, of course, to talk. They may have provided a written response, but we still were able to discuss some of them to the point in which some of the students were really getting engaged into the subject. The second component of this strategy requires the students to read an actual article, and in this case, I introduced them to this piece from New CLA titled "Young Swifties Are Tuning Into the NFL and Their Dads Are Loving It." The article is focusing mostly on the upsides of Taylor Swift's association with the NFL, but it also briefly discusses some negative impacts, and that's something that I consider important because not everybody was on board with the idea of her getting so much media attention. On one of the whiteboards that I have in my room, I took care of the next component, which is another talking point. And I just asked the students to popcorn out some of the ideas that they found out about the author's stance regarding Taylor Swift's association with the NFL. Some of the answers that I got from my students involved younger fans are attending football games, ratings have increased, football fans and their daughters are spending more time together. Some observers disagree with the excessive coverage. It's very important that you have this highly visible because this piece will become critical in the next step. So now we're moving to the last component, the writing piece. And this will require students to open the other document that I posted in Google Classroom for them to work on. This is the document that I am referring to. And the prompt has something for them to write about. It is asking them to explain how Taylor Swift's association with the NFL has positively impacted its viewership. Be mindful that the question that I posted on the whiteboard is not exactly the same, and I have a reason for that. At this point, we have been working with ECR so much that some students have already gotten familiar with the format, and I don't want to turn them off because of it, especially if they already have a negative opinion about that process. If you are like me, you have probably noticed that some students are very good at using the language from the prompt to begin writing their thesis statement, but in many cases, that's what they do. They only use the prompt and they don't really explain why. In other words, they stop short of developing the because or the why, and as a result, they don't have a thesis statement, which means that they have a zero. If you don't know what to write after by or because, then all you gotta do is refer to the whiteboard. And you will notice in the example that I am going to show you that I decided to use a couple of the facts that we posted over there to finish my thesis statement. And it says the following: Taylor Swift's association with the NFL has positively impacted its viewership because younger fans are attending football games and football fans and their daughters are spending more time together. You will notice that they are listed over here. I didn't use the last one because the prompt is specifically asking the students to focus on the positive impact, and the last bullet point is not something particularly positive, so I asked my students to put that aside for a moment, even if their feelings tell them otherwise. Overall, I can tell that the success of this strategy was seen in the fact that students were able to produce thesis statements that were more properly developed so they could at least warrant a 2 on the ECR exercise. I also noticed that the students felt a little bit more confident about locating information in the text because the previous discussion helped them to look for the information that they needed to support their responses. So in the end, it doesn't really matter what is the actual approach that you use to teach them how to develop these responses, but I did find out that the talk, read, talk, write can really be beneficial, especially to make those students who might be a little bit anxious about what they're sharing more self-confident about their own responses. I trust that you found this information useful. Thank you for watching.